So my this is me like messing around with it. But the remember last time we talked about like having have using the has many through using the through part of the has many through relationship.
Yeah,
Um and then you gave me like an idea of like using for using it by trying to have like on the profile page the cars that that user added.
sure.
All right. That's my main issue because every time, so let me actually revert this back so that we can, I guess I could kind of show you, but pretty much my issue right now is that every time like on my profile page, the the user sees all the cars that they reviewed. So like I get duplicate. I mean, like I could put this in a set and remove the duplicates, whatever.
Sure.
But like if I were to add a car right now, right, and I go back to the profile page, it will not come up here.
But I'm confused because you're saying add a car and it says cars that you added, but that's not what it means to say show me the cars of the user, right? The cars is the has many through association. So the user has many cars through their reviews. That's not about adding a car, right?
Oh, so okay, maybe I misunderstood then. So like what did you say that day then that I should put on the profile page?
Well, first let's make sure you understand what the method cars produces for a user. So let's do that through the let's start with a new tab. We're logged in right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So go open up a new tab and let's go to localhost 3000. Is it slash me is the sort of auto login route
Yeah.
that goes to the show route? Let's go look at your routes because it must not be the me route. Maybe it's off or profile or something.
Oh my God, I have so many of these tabs open. I should start closing them because I'm not
Yes,
using them.
yes, that's a good idea.
All right.
We're looking at the routes file because we need to know the routing that gets us to the show user show route. It is slash me. So it's weird that we ended up in the fallback, but that's because you put the fallback at the top. So let's move line 5 down to line 21. Okay. Now let's send that localhost 3000 request again. Right. So right now you're not sending back any information under the user. So let's go to the user serializer and just so we can see what it is and talk about the meaning of it. Let's go back to the user serializer and add has many reviews and has many cars.
I don't have a serializer.
Okay.
Um,
That's a problem. We should have a serializer because the serializer is how we control what we're rendering back.
hmm
So very easy to do that. We can do a file by hand, and we can get into a terminal and just do Rails G serializer user. I think we should just do a quick Google search and make sure we're getting the syntax right.
I have it on dock. Hold on.
Yep, looks like you just say the name of the class.
hmm The name of the class is users.
Yep.
No,
That's the name of the
user.
tip. The name of the class, the name of the model is user, right? Okay, so go to your serializers folder. Oh, the name user serializers either already used in your application or reserved. Let's take a look at the serializers folder. Maybe you're using serializers and you don't know it. Well, there's the user serializer. Okay, and that does
Oh, right.
match
I
up.
created this a while ago.
That does match up with the 4 attributes we're seeing, right?
Yeah,
So for instance, if you delete bio
but it won't be there.
and then you refresh the localhost 3000, you're now just going to get the ID, username, and email. Right. So put bio back, add has many reviews, has many cars, and let's look at what that does. Usually the attributes come first, and then you have your has many or belongs to statements.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it really matters, but don't need to say through here. That's done in the model. So you're just saying there's a method called cars, run the method and assign it to the key of cars.
So just leave it like this.
Well, you have a typo. But... Okay. Let's try it out. Okay. So for instance, Adrian has written 4 reviews, and some of them are for the same car. So for instance, the first 2 reviews look like they're for the Toyota Supra, right?
Mm-hmm.
And notice that we're getting the full car objects, and that's because you don't have a car serializer and you don't have a review serializer. So it's literally just creating the Ruby object and then turning it into a JavaScript object. So create that, updated that, typically not things that people care about. When you create your car serializer and your review serializer, then those files will dictate what those objects look like in the user response, which is useful again in terms of thinking about how I take the user state in the front end and manage it. What am I going to do? So your job here is to use the has many through. That means use the cars for the user and have that populate that unordered list. And it looks like that's what you're doing because but you're just doing it some kind of roundabout way. You're doing that because I saw the list that said the Toyota Supra. I mean, I actually don't remember, but you have the duplicate that you were talking about. Yeah, go back.
Yes, this is
Localhost
the
4000.
same exact thing that I'm looking at for the profile page.
Right.
I just don't
You
understand what I'm
need to
trying to
make
do
it.
for the profile page, I guess.
You're trying to
Like,
show that you can use the has many through relationship. So instead of making a separate fetch to get this information, like what are the user's cars, you're going to send it back in the serializer, and then you're going to hold it in state. And so when you make a new review, then you have to do the state management of saying, oh, this user object has now changed because now I've reviewed the 1990 Ford Ranger, and so that car needs to now be in my cars array under the user.
okay, I understand that, but I understand that I have to like use the has many through association, all that stuff. But like, what am I trying to display on the profile page? Like a list of like the cars that have been reviewed by this user?
Yeah, exactly right. Now, if you don't like the fact that you're seeing a duplicate for the Toyota Supra, then we've got to do a little more work. So keep in mind that in the serializer, you have access to the has many macro, which will allow you to just easily say, run the cars method. And the cars method is coming from the model where you said has many cars through reviews. But if you want to have unique cars, then you're going to have to create a custom method in the serializer that says, oh, I actually only want unique cars. And since you really only care about the make and the model, maybe in unique cars, you only send back information about, well, actually, I think you do the year, make, and model in the
Ye-
in that little bullet point list, right?
Yeah, okay, you're making model, got it. So, okay, but right, I'll create my car serializer and I'll do that.
Well,
Just so I understand
you didn't,
fully, huh?
you need to make if you want to take out that duplicate, you're going to have to make a custom method in your serializer or in your model for a user so that you get the unique cars. So not the duplicate cars, because
I'm
basically
pretty
the
sure
way,
there's a method just like dot unique question mark.
sure, but how do you implement that on the cars method in a way that the serializer can use and send the information back?
How would I, so the question is, how would okay. Um, how does the serializer, hold on. Okay, so you're saying I had to make a custom, it would be, wouldn't it? Because don't I just do it in the model and then in the,
You could write a custom method in the user model to get the unique cars.
yeah, because wouldn't I just write, oh no, that's, it wouldn't, it wouldn't be in the controller maybe?
This isn't about the
Because,
controller because this is the serializer operates every time you send a user object back. So that's going to happen on the creation. It's going to happen on the show. That's when the refresh kicks in to rescue the user. You're still thinking, I'm going to send a fetch to go get the information about the user's cars, but that's unnecessary to be sending an extra request to say, hey, tell me about your cars when we already could have the information from the user serializer. Let's just write a custom method so you can see how it works. So on line 2 in the user serializer, let's make a new method called test. So that's one important insight is that the attributes don't actually have to be attributes. They can be methods too. So you can, after bio, you can do comma, colon, test. And then let's write this in the model. And then we can, if you want to see the serializer example, you can. So now you're going to have a method, an instance method in your model. I would go to line 12 because all of this is sort of, all of the stuff that you've written so far are sort of important class notes about how user works. So the name of the method is going to be, right? And let's just return a string for now, just so we can see this working. Sure. Now go ahead and go back to localhost 3000 and you can see that you have a new attribute called test in the user object. So you could have that be called unique cars instead of test, and you could return all of the cars, but with the duplicates removed.
okay, okay. So the profile page should be showing all the cars that the user has reviewed
Mhm.
in a unique list. And I'm gonna use the serializer and a custom method to do that. But since I'm doing that, right? And and I have access to all the cars? No, I do not. I guess I was gonna say like, do I need like a cars context? But I guess I do, right? Or no?
Yeah, cars is a separate state that holds all of the cars in the database. And it was a reflection of all the cars in the database, right? And that comes
Mm-hmm.
from the /cars request that we do when we load up the app. You make a request to your API server, you get information about the cars, then you load it up in state. And then every time you make changes to a car object, so when you add a review, edit a review, delete a review, or you add a new car, all of that changes the car state. And so that's part of the complex state management that you're doing.
Okay, so I still do need the car's context.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
And
But through this,
when you add
oh,
a review or you delete a review, not only do you have to change the car's state, because you got to go to that specific car and you got to go to that object and change the reviews,
mhm.
you also have to change the user state because the user has changed in the sense, or might have changed in the sense that if we added a review and that you haven't reviewed that car before, that car now needs to be in the unique cars list under the user.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Okay. Because when they add a review, the user changes because
Yeah,
they have a new review that they added there.
right. Which means they have a new car potentially, right? If they're reviewing the
Mhm.
same car, then actually nothing changes about the user. I wouldn't send the reviews back, by the way, for the user, not unless you're using it. So on line 6, if you're not going to show all the reviews, and I don't know why you would, because the
Mm,
user can see their own reviews by looking at the cars. They don't see them all in one place, but they'll, I mean, the reviews are there.
yeah, because okay, that makes sense. Okay, I'll make it. All right.
Well, see what you can do and let me know if you get stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
All right.
but okay. So my goal is to on the profile page show all the cars that the user has reviewed, and using the has many through association to do that. Right?
Right.
With
What you're
my
going to do in
model,
your
my
custom method. You're eventually going to take away line 4 and you're going to replace it with a custom method that gives you the unique cars because you don't like the fact that you have these duplicate cars.
oh, so I'm gonna end up taking this away, yeah, because I'm gonna have this custom method instead.
Right.
Okay.
And then that's what you'll be managing in state.
And this is what I'll be managing in state. Actually, how am I getting this?
Because remember that, well, that gets loaded up anytime you send the user object back, right? So when you
Yeah, so I get saved it to
or
the
when you
user
log
context.
in, or when you use the /me route to reload the user, then the user gets sent back, and that's what the state looks like. So when you go to your localhost 3000, the reason I think it's useful to look at localhost 3000 occasionally is it is a representation of the state that you are managing.
Right, instead of going, because I usually use the debugger and then, but even sometimes that gets a little tricky, right? Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's value to all those methods. It's just I think it's nice sometimes for students to be able to have a visual of this is what state looks like. And so that has implications for state management because then it's like, okay, well, I need to go into the user, then I need to go to my unique cars array and then find the car object.
Okay. So this is technically using the has many through because I'm using cars and I can only access cars through reviews, right? This is
So when you say, so for instance, on line 14, if we replaced working with, how would I use the cars method on the instance of the user?
oh, just at user.cars, right?
There's no at user here. This is an instance method in the user class.
Oh, self.cars?
Good. Back to localhost 3000. You can take out, well, you can leave line 4. You should see now a duplication between test and cars, or now you'll see instead of being under cars, it'll be under test, but those are car objects.
Yeah,
So now you can just
cool.
rename test whatever you want, and you can add on that method that's going to remove the duplicates.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Oh my God, Ben, because I thought I had to show all the cars that that user added. That's what I thought you meant yesterday.
Right. Well,
And when I
there's
was
no way
trying,
to do that because there's not even any tracking to know what the person added.
that's what I was gonna say, because if there's no review, how am I supposed to know there's a car? Right?
Well, when I add a car using the form in your browser,
Mm-hmm.
It gets submitted to the database. When
Mm-hmm.
I come back to the database, how do I know that I added that car? There's no record of that because there's no foreign key that says this is your car. And cars don't belong to anybody.
Right. Cars has many. Right. Okay. So there's not a real way to.
Right.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
And that's an important distinction because if you think about a social media model where a user makes posts and then a user comments on other people's posts, that's a situation where you do need a foreign key on the posts model because the user does own the post, but then the user also comments on posts. So then the user has posts, and that means two different things. They have posts that they wrote, they also have posts that they commented on. And it could be, there could be overlap because it could comment on your own post. That's where you use aliasing, and that gets more complicated. But I try to steer people away from that in phase 4, but definitely doable in the capsule.
Okay. So that's probably something I'm gonna have to, because after phase 4, right? After this project, I go straight to phase 5, or do I have to do anything else?
You do the project, you pass the assessment, you're in the capstone.
And then in the capstone, yeah.
It's just a
Okay.
project.
So all of phase 5 is just a project.
Just doing the same thing with phase 4, starting from scratch, building a new project, new concept, and then it's a couple new additions, so it's slightly bigger, more complicated than phase 4, but it doesn't need to be wildly bigger and much more complicated.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. So okay. So I'm gonna do this. I'll figure out how to make it unique, send it back to the serializer, and then have it listed out on my profile page.
Right.
I'll add my active record validation. Oh yes, I want to ask you about active record validation, but I guess we'll talk about it again when you have more. Do you have time, or do you have to go?
I should go help somebody else, but keep in mind that the real test for yourself, have I finished this has many through, is going and adding and deleting reviews and going back to the profile page and seeing that the profile page is updated. Right? Because that means
Right.
that you're managing state without having to refresh the page. Those cars are gone or new cars appear based on the reviews that I add or delete. That's the test.
Oh, that's another thing too, deleting, right?
Right.
If I
Because if you
delete, if
delete
I
a review, it may take a car out of your unique cars array. Right. Like
Okay.
you could imagine that, let's go back to localhost 3000. The reason that that third car is there, the 2015 Toyota Corolla, that's because you wrote a review on it, right?
If you take away the review, then it shouldn't be there.
Car should go away, right?
Okay.
But
And
that's the test.
okay, if I add a new review, okay, let's say I add a new review, right, to this Honda Civic or to this Toyota Supra or the Honda Civic, right? Should the Honda Civic come up to be the first one in the list?
Not necessary.
Okay.
Just want to make sure it doesn't duplicate.
Okay. So when a user, okay. Okay.
Okay, Adrian, let me know if you need help. Hey, do you mind if I share this as a kind of, because a lot of students get confused about the has many through. So I feel like our conversation might be helpful for other students understanding what they need to do.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
You can use
appreciate
it.
it.
Yeah, anytime.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
All right, take care.
Bye.